All right. Welcome, everybody, to Standing for Truth. My name is Donny Budinsky, and I am your host and moderator for tonight's exciting debate between Wade the Wizard and Dr. Dino. Tonight, the battle continues. This is certainly not their first rodeo in terms of debating each other. As a matter of fact, this is chapter 6. So one day, gentlemen, we're going to have to put together an entire DVD set. The great DVD set of Wade the Wizard versus Dr. Dino. And so, gentlemen, I'm excited for this. It's great to have you both here again in the debate dojo to engage the topic of evolution, evidence for evolution. And so let's break the ice a little bit, get to know you gentlemen a bit before we get into the showdown itself. And so, Kent, let's start with you. It's great to have you back. And tell us a little bit about yourself and also your ministry.
Well, thank you. Good to be with you. Let's see, I'll be 72 in a couple of months, January 15th. I've been a Baptist preacher 50 years. I taught high school science and math 15 years. I believe the Bible is true, and evolution is the dumbest religion ever invented in the history of humanity. Probably one of the oldest religions also. Started with Satan in the Garden of Eden when he said to Eve, "You can be like God." That's the idea that man is improving, progressing through the amoeba up to manhood. And someday we get to sail around the universe and discover new life forms, like Star Trek. So I believe evolution is silly, dumb, didn't happen, not at all. No evidence for it. God said all the animals will bring forth after their kind. It's all it's all anybody's ever seen. So I believe the Bible is true, and that Noah's flood explains all the geology we have, and the Earth's only about 6,000 years old, and dinosaurs lived with man. That usually fires up the atheist.
Oh, Kent. Okay, you're good. You kind of cut out there at the end, but I did hear what you said, so I appreciate it. This is your debate number 374. So very, very cool. We got to get you to 500. And number 6 with Wade, which means, Wade, you've had quite a few debates too. And so it's great to have you back. Your hat's looking good for round 6, so I appreciate that. You guys are good sports. Wade the Wizard, tell us, how have you been? And also tell us a little bit about your channel and what you do.
Yeah, so I actually have some slides about, a little bit of what I've been up to. So, and then I think I'll just go ahead and jump into the first topic, if that's okay.
Okay, I'll let the audience know then what we're doing. So what we're doing here during tonight's battle continues debate, Dr. Dino, Wade the Wizard, is we're going to focus on several topics related to the creation versus evolution debate. And so the topics we are going to be focusing on, I understand that these topics could take us down, I'm sure, some rabbit trail subtopics. So topic 1 is going to be speciation. Then we're going to get into limits, relatedness, and design. And so I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be a stimulating debate, as these debates between Wade and Kent always are. So Wade, let's hand it over to you.
Yeah,
and the floor is yours for topic number 1. If you need to screen share, you get those slides up. Actually, as you're doing that, I'll let the audience know that yes, we will be having an audience Q&A as we usually do with these debates. So please, if you got a question on topic, send those in, tag me. Let me know who the question's for, Wade or Kent, and we'll have some fun with those. Wade, I've got your slides up.
All right,
and
yeah, there we go.
You're good to go.
Yeah, so since our last debate back in January of this year, we bought a house. Got moved away from the city and up here in New Jersey. And in case you're curious, I did a fun little house tour on the Wizard Show. Also, I got married. We got married during the total solar eclipse. And yeah, we were wearing our matching sequin overalls. That's pretty great. And
congratulations.
There's a video. There's a video on the Wizard Show. Go check it out. Lastly, a few months ago, I started my own religion. I invented a new religion called Wizardology. And as you guessed it. So yeah, we meet every second Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Wizardology. We do a live stream church service on the Wizard Show, hosted by me, Wade the Wizard. So, right. One more thing before we jump into the debate. I'm planning a debate review after show fun times with a good buddy of mine. So, yeah. All right. So, yeah, Donny, if you want to go ahead and start the timer, this is my first talking point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Wade, congratulations on getting
Thank
married.
you.
And let me get the timer out. Topic number 1. Floor is yours. Go ahead.
All right. So, yeah, I was looking back on some of our past debates and really all of Kent's debates, and it seems to go something like, let me make sure I'm clicking the right. Okay, so it's like genetics is evidence for common descent. And Kent will say genetics is evidence for common design. Right? So common design, common descent, how do we distinguish between these two models? We have common descent, God, a book says a thing, and then there's common descent, which is backed by decades of rigorous scientific experimentation. So I want to look at a few specific observations that we see in reality, starting with the variety of life. Why are there so many species? So the Encyclopedia of Life has 1.9 cataloged species. We have the Global Biodiversity Information Facility with almost 5 million. National Library of Medicine represents only about 10% of the described species on the planet. We have the Interim Register of Marine and Non-Marine Genre with 1.3 million species. We have an Open Tree of Life with 2.4 million. The Catalog of Life, so they have 1.5 million species in just the Animalia Kingdom. I thought this was interesting as well. So the paleobiology database, this is just fossils, and they have almost 500,000 fossils. And I thought this was cool. This shows a map of where the fossils were found and when they estimated these species to exist. So my question is, why, or how, more specifically, how are there so many species? Well, the explanation from common descent is very simple. It's the theory of evolution, which states that it is the change in heritable characteristics of biological populations over successive generations. There's reproduction, mutation, natural selection. Very simple. There's no contradictions. There's no magic required. There's no impossibilities, all right? And this has been very well studied by thousands of scientists. Okay, so common design. Now, it doesn't matter how many. God could have made 1 billion species day one, or whatever. But we're limited by Noah's Ark, right? And I tried to steelman Kent's argument and do the math for him and explain it for him. And so I took the amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, just the air-breathing vertebrates, which is over 40,000. But and most young Earth creation sources say around 1,400. I gave you a little leniency on the years and that. Now, what is a kind? Now, I want to emphasize that it doesn't matter if Kent defines, because of the taxonomy classification is a nested hierarchy. It doesn't matter if kind is on the level of a family or order. If I have 1,400 of the specific family kinds, I'm going to have 1,400 species. But what is a species, he might say? And it is difficult to determine a definition for species in a way that applies to all organisms, fungi, plant, bacteria. But when it comes to amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, the definition is not ambiguous, it's not disputed, It's they can produce fertile offspring. Species can produce species within their kind, all right? So you have to consider a population, an exponential growth calculation. So for the first 2,000 years, we have an exponential acceleration and then an exponential deceleration because we don't see rapid speciation today. Again, the generation length model, this is how many, basically how many babies can one generation have and how long does it take. Now we can take the amount of change between species and we can look at the rate of change between a parent and a child to calculate the number of generations. We can also use the number of generations and the reproduction rate through the generation length model to determine how long this would take. And we have the inbreeding depression, where you shouldn't marry your cousin because there's not enough genetic diversity, but Noah only had one male and one female on his boat. And so we look at this and there's really not a logical explanation as to how there are so many species after the flood. Now I was trying to do some unbiased research and look at what the other side argues. So I went to Answers in Genesis and looked at what is a kind, and Ken Ham said that kind is kind of on the family level, and that there was about 1,000 land animals. Okay. Now we have institution creation research. What do they say? Well, so yeah, there wasn't much information, so the variation is limited within kinds. Okay, but what is a kind? This is the entire article. 2 paragraphs. There's no citations. There's no credentials. There's no logical arguments in this. This is nonsense. Discovery Institute. I searched Noah's flood. I searched species. I searched kind, and there was really nothing. I went to drdino.com and I took a screenshot of my entire screen so you could see that the title of your website is chopped off. And then we're met with a spinning graphic to buy the books, buy the DVDs. But what is a kind? I went to Kent Hovind Official. No items match your search. I went to Genesis. This is Kent's YouTube channel, and I looked at kind. What is a biblical kind? He spends a half an hour. Well, what did he talk about? He says, well, what's a species? What's a kind, Kent? Bible says kinds produce kinds, not a definition. Varieties within limits, and then honor your parents. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Other irrelevant anecdotes and shifting the burden of proof. So my question for Kent, how are there so many species? That is my simple question, and I hope we can stay. Let's see. There's the button. Stop sharing. So how are there so many species? I want you to explain that. We don't need to get into the weeds of, but what is a species that they can reproduce? Fertile offspring. All right, and I'll turn the time over. Thank you.
Okay. Wade the Wizard, thank you very much for that opening on topic number 1, largely focusing on speciation. So I'll reset the timer, and Kent, you have about 10 minutes for your opening or a response. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Now, keep in mind, all of this is a diversion because he wants people to not focus on what the Bible says they bring forth after their kind and bring forth after their sort. This is a diversion. He thinks all these thousands and thousands or millions, whatever it is, of species all came from a protozoa, a single-celled creature. Everything. This is the chart they use in the public school. Yeah, the humans are related to sunflowers. This is what they're trying to avoid talking about by throwing up the smoke cloud of what is a species. Well, but I'm not afraid to talk about that. Let's see. Definition of species. A group of living organisms consisting of similar individuals capable of exchanging genes or interbreeding. Sunflowers cannot interbreed with frogs, okay? They're not capable, okay? Frogs cannot interbreed with turtles. So yeah, there's obvious barriers. Can they interbreed? And the Bible says if they bring forth, i.e., have babies, they're the same kind. So that would be very similar to the word species in most cases. What's the definition of species? This textbook says, well, it's a type, a kind, or a sort. Well, the Bible uses the word kind and sort to describe it. I don't think the Bible cares or the Bible writers care that we change the word to species or something else. Here we go. Species, a kind or sort. Let's see. National Pornographic. A species is defined as a group of organisms that can reproduce naturally with one another and create fertile offspring. That is typically the standard definition. However, the classification of a species can be difficult, even riddled with controversy. Let's see. Merriam-Webster Dictionary. What's a species? A kind or a sort. The same two words the Bible uses 20 times in the first 7 chapters, okay? Let's see. Synonyms for species. Synonyms, let's see. A kind. Well, here we are. Biology Dictionary. Species, group of organisms that share a common heritage are able to interbreed. Kind that are fertile. Let's see. Barriers do not allow for reproduction between two populations. Scientists have changed the definition of species several times throughout history. Well, interesting. God said they'll bring forth after their kind, after their kind, after their kind. That's all we've ever seen. Cows always have baby cows. No different. Nothing ever than a cow, ever. Okay. After their kind is used 20 times in the first 7 chapters and a bunch of times in the Bible after that. So they're going to bring forth after their kind. Okay. Citable, the natural by nature education. Biological group is of organisms that can reproduce with one another in nature. So in nature, do the foxes reproduce with the pine trees? No, they're obviously different species. Okay. Let's see. Species can be defined based on shared evolutionary history. Well, what does that mean? Okay. Species. A biological species is a group of organisms that can reproduce with one another in nature and produce fertile offspring. Well, that's what a kind is. God said they will bring forth after their kind. It means have babies. Okay. Let's see. Scientific American. What's a species? To this day, scientists struggle with that question. I forgot to start my timer, brother. I am so sorry. There. Okay.
I can let you know what you're at. So you're
okay, sure. You
just hit the 3-minute marks. You still got 7 minutes.
Okay. Let's see. The debate over species definition is far from over, Scientific American says. Let's see. Okay. They struggle with the definition. The debate is far from over. And this is from the same article. It may come as a surprise that scientists struggling to agree on something so basic as how to decide that a group of organisms form a species. Perhaps it's the Latin that gives the species name the whiff of absolute certainty that has misled the public into thinking the rules are simple. Perhaps it's the 1.8 million species scientists have named in the past few centuries. Perhaps it's laws like the Endangered Species Act, which take for granted that we know what a species is. In fact, the very concept of species has fueled debates for decades. There is no general agreement among biologists on what species are. Let's see. At last count, there were 26 published concepts in circulation. So they're struggling to agree. They would take for granted what a species. No, they don't know what a species is. It's fueled debate for decades. There's 26 published definitions of species. Okay, drawing lines on paper between species can prove frustrating. Yep. 2 species of mice might interbreed where the ranges overlap, raising the question of what name to give the hybrids. Within a species, there is confusion as well. The willow ptarmigan of Ireland has a slightly different plumage than the willow ptarmigan of Scotland. Oh, so are they different species? No, they're both birds. Naturalists could not agree about whether they belong to the different ptarmigan species or were just varieties. Charles Darwin was amused by these struggles. It's really laughable to see what different ideas are prominent in various naturalist minds when they speak of species. He wrote in 1856, it all comes, I believe, from trying to define the indefinable. You cannot define what a species is, Charles Darwin said. Okay. Cannot define what a species is. I would agree. It all comes from trying to define the undefinable. Meanwhile, other varieties become extinct. Let's see. I look at the term species as one arbitrarily given for the sake of convenience to a set of individuals closely resembling each other, Darwin declared. To understand how species evolved led to a new concept of what it might be, what it meant to be a species. Ernst Mayr, German ornithologist, in 1942, defined species as a gene pool, calling a set of populations that can reproduce with one another. and that are unable to mate successfully with other populations. Okay. So again, can they bring forth? Defining a species from Berkeley University. A species is often defined as a group of individuals that actually or potentially interbreed in nature. Right. The definition of species might seem cut and dried, but it's not. In nature, there are lots of places where it's difficult to apply this definition. The definition of a species as a group of interbreeding individuals cannot be easily applied to organisms that reproduce only or mainly asexually. Well, for instance, are the hooded crow, the carrion crow, are they different species? Should they be considered different species? The crows don't care how we classify them. They don't even know we're doing it. And if they did, they'd laugh at us for working so hard when they know what their kind is. God said they bring forth after their kind. The raven, there are 10 different varieties or species of ravens. I believe they can all interbreed. Why are they different species? God said they'll bring forth after their kind. Let's see, the heron after its kind, the locust after its kind, the bald locust after its kind, the beetle, the grasshopper, the tortoise. The animals know. 72 recognized species of herons. How many varieties are there? Well, 72. But the herons don't care that we do this to them. God said they'll bring 2 of every sort on the ark, bring them after their kind, after their kind. Actually, God said he would bring them to Noah. Noah didn't have to worry about it. Have the door open, bring them on, guys. Whatever God sent, okay? 2 of each kind, 2 of every sort. Beast of every, after his kind, after his kind, after his kind. Genesis 6 and 7 is before the flood, okay? 2 of every sort. So, base or sort, let's see, what is a species simple definition? Organisms that can reproduce with one another in nature and produce fertile offspring. Great. What's your definition? A group of similar organisms that ranks below genus in scientific classification and made up of individuals able to reproduce. Okay. Wikipedia. Species is defined as the largest group of organisms in which 2 individuals of the appropriate sexes, except in San Francisco, or mating types can produce fertile offspring. Okay, so there it is, capable of interbreeding. So Linnaeus developed our classification system, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. None of the animals care that we're doing this to them. None of them, okay? They don't even know we're doing it. They know what to look for in a mate. Let them go in the woods, they'll find it, okay? Maybe in some cases, our biblical kind might be the same as a family. In some cases, it might be down as the species. I don't know. Again, Carolus Linnaeus's classification system may or may not fit in our biblical kind category. So a set of animals or plants which members have similar characteristics and can breed with each other. At Dinosaur Adventureland, we have our sheep, donkeys, zebu, cows, and horses all together in the same pasture. We've never gotten a zeep, donkey, heap, how, or shebu. Never. They know what to mate for. They know what to look for. They know what kind they are. Keep in mind, they don't even know what they look like, but they know what to look for. Smarter than most scientists. If they're dumb enough to try, like a duck trying to mate with a turkey, nothing's going to happen. They can't interbreed. Let's see. No bird brains. Yep, all of them. So, species. Definition of species is controversial in biology. Stanford Encyclopedia says. What's a species? At first glance, it's easy. Homo sapien is a species. So is Canis familiaris. Many species can be easily defined. When we turn to scientific literature, biologists offer 20 definitions of the term species. So what is it? We don't know. Okay? If you know Wade, I'd like to hear it tonight, okay? In biology, there are more than 20 different species concepts. According to Britannica, what's a species? The most important concept in all biology is a complete mystery. A koala bear isn't a bear, it's a marsupial. Whales aren't fish, they're mammals. Tomatoes aren't vegetables, they're fruit. Almost nothing is a nut. Peanuts, Brazil nuts, cashews, almonds, all of them are actually legumes. Brazils and cashews are seeds. The others are drupes. Again, the basic idea is very simple.
20 seconds.
Certain groups of individuals have a common connection to each other. What's a species? The truth is, we don't have any idea. And you don't either, Wade. You should have submitted yourselves to the Lord, I think. Give yourself, Lord, you made the world. I trust you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Kat. Okay, gentlemen, you each got exactly 10 minutes for topic number 1. Wade, let's throw it over to you. Since you started, is there a point you wanted to engage or something Kent said that you wanted to interact with?
Yeah, well, so my question, just a reminder, was how are there so many species going from the Ark, 1400, to over 41,000? And that was my question: is how do you explain this? And I tried to be very clear that when it comes to reptiles, amphibians, birds, mammals, they can reproduce within their own species. That is a very reproduce fertile offspring within their species. That's the definition. So Kent completely avoided the question. So I guess I'll maybe let's do this. We'll give Kent one more opportunity to answer the question of how do we go from 1,000 species to 40,000 species. Please explain that, or I'll just take the point for this round.
No, it's very simple, Wade. Thank you for the question. I think how they went from 1,400 kinds on Noah's Ark, actually most people say there are probably 8,000 kinds of animals on Noah's Ark is the current estimate. How they went from 8,000 to 41,000 is because the government grants applied to schools that are able to, discover a new species. There's a great financial incentive to say, oh, wow, this frog is a different species than this frog. The frogs don't care. The whole thing has happened that way, this inflation of numbers, because of the government getting involved and offering grant money to schools where people discover a new species. That's why it happened, okay? There has not been an increase in kinds. There are still the same number of kinds of animals in the world. Not been an increase at all. So I get the point. Go ahead, next one.
Well, yeah, I mean, we haven't established what the definition of a kind is. So maybe what we do, Donny, is we kind of move along, and hopefully some of these other topics can help enlighten us a little more. We can do that.
Sure, we can move to your second topic, which does relate. If I understand correctly, it has to do with limits and ancestry. So, Wade, let's hand it to you, and we'll move into topic number 2, as all these topics in many ways flow together. So if you got slides, feel free to get those up. Reminder
I got slides.
Hey, I appreciate the visuals. I like when Wade and Kent interact because we get visuals on both sides, which are helpful. So Wade, feel free to get those up to the audience.
Yep.
Send in your questions. Send in your objections, your challenges. We'll save those, and we will.
Yes. While you're bringing up the questions, I just wanted to say if we don't get to any of your questions during this debate, I'll address them during my after show.
Okay.
All right. So limits. You can see that. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah. It says limit.
Okay. Let's talk about limits. Ken often mentions, there's a lot of varieties, but there's limits. What are these limits? Let's talk about the limits. So the explanation from common descent, or evolution, we have limits by physics, like the laws of physics. There's also natural selection. If it's not being selected for, that's going to be one of the limits. And then time, of course, and the law of monophyly. Now, Kent Hovind uses these ridiculously absurd straw men like cows jumping over moons. But we know that this is a limit of physics, the laws of physics. There's a great video by Veritasium about the world's highest jumping robot. They engineered the perfect jumping machine, and it's 110 feet. Okay, that's not great. So they talk about the science of jumping. There's a force applied when you jump to accelerate your mass. And in order for it to count as a jump, all of that energy from the force must be included within the mass. It's kind of like the same reason you can't take a mass faster than the speed of light. It's just physically impossible. Another straw man by Kent Hovind. Dogs the size of Texas. So silly. Yeah, okay, so I have another video reference, and it's a good one by Vsauce. How big can a person get? And of course, we're limited by, there's laws of geometry and their biology, like the strength of bones and gravity. This planet has a certain amount of gravity. The largest single living organism on Earth is 2,385 acres. It's the humongous fungus. But when it comes to the animal kingdom, or specifically mammals that walk on land, we've only seen so big of animals because we're limited by bone strength and the cardiovascular system pumping the blood pressure up to the brain and things like that. And we know that the largest mammal is the blue whale due to the buoyancy of water. Oh, another straw man by Kent Hovind. You know, we have bugs that evolve resistance to pesticides, but they can't evolve resistance to hammers. Well, there's not a natural selection process for that, so that's why that'd be a limit. But I would say there are insects that are resistant to hammers. I would like to see Kent try and kill a fly with a hammer. No, they're not squash resistant, but they are quick. They'll get away. Also, we have other organisms that are resistant to hammers, like trees. I'd like to see Kent go up to a rhino and see how hammer resistant a rhino is. So let's talk about common design. Apparently there are some limits of omnipotence, all-powerful God. He has to, there's some limits. God can't apparently create a dog the size of Texas. Or maybe he could, but he doesn't. I don't know. And apparently we have the law of monophyly, which all tetrapods, all amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, they're pretty much the same. They're very similar. We got 4 limbs, eyes, ears, mouth, nose, lungs, heart, the spinal cord. Not very creative. There seems to be some limits here. Like, for example, we've never seen a reptile capable of photosynthesis. We've never seen a bird reproduce asexually. We've never seen a 6-legged mammal. Why is that? I guess apparently a omniscient God. Okay, so I'm going to talk about why Kent intentionally avoids defining limits. So here I have this blob of color represents the limits of evolution. So we see changes within the species within here, but we're limited by physics. We're limited by natural selection, time, and the law of monophyly. So the reason why Kent avoids defining limits, for example, if he defines the limits of an omnipotent, all-powerful deity, these like silly straw man arguments like cows jumping over a moon, hammer-resistant bugs, and dogs the size of Texas, well, I don't know if you know this, but evolution is still feasible. See that boundary in here? You've drawn the limits way outside the limits of evolution, which is changes in the heritable characteristics of populations over successive generations. However, if Kent draws this teeny tiny little, the limits of an omnipotent designer, let's say, for example, populations of kinds will never diversify or produce enough variety to the extent that successive generations will not be able to produce fertile offspring with one another. This is basically speciation. So if he says like, we'll never see speciation, we got the problem of Noah's Ark. You can't go from 1,000 to over 40,000 species. And yeah, again, the definition of species is not ambiguous. It's not controversial. They can reproduce fertile offspring when it comes to air-breathing amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. So my question for Ken is, what are the limits of an omnipotent God? And I think that, I'll just make sure. Okay, yeah, and then that'll be it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Wade. Topic number 2, limits. Appreciate it. That was an 8-minute round. So Kent, we're going to throw it back to you, and we'll give you equal time. Round 2, 8 minutes. Whenever you're ready, Kent, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Well, to answer the question very simply, God does not have any limits. He could create anything he wanted. He chose to create a planet this size, about 8,000 miles in diameter, and he chose to give it a certain gravitational pull depending upon the material it's made of, the mass of the planet, what minerals and things are there. It determines the amount of gravity it has, and it's perfectly balanced for all the life forms here. If gravity was greater, we'd have a lot of creatures that have a hard time living on the moon with less gravity. Anyway, that's another story. So I think my answer would be God does not have any limits. He chose to make a world and make creatures here and limit them to the size available for this world. I don't know what it's going to be like in the next world. Maybe he's got another one where they're much bigger. He could do whatever he wanted. I think God could make an electromagnetic spectrum that goes probably infinitely in both directions. And he gives us eyes that can see certain vibrations. We call them colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And maybe we could someday get eyes in heaven that can see the sounds or smell them or taste them. Ooh, wow, blue. I don't know. We'll see. I think that all scientific observation tells us, and science deals with what we can observe. We observe there are 450 breeds of cows that most have been developed by man. Most would not survive in the woods. If you turned all 450 cows in the world loose, let them loose, probably over the next 20 years, most varieties would die off. The dairy cows that have the huge udders that give 280 pounds of milk a day, they wouldn't live 2 days. Some predator would catch them and eat them. So I think many of the variations that we have and new species that we have are man-made for man's convenience. So most would not survive in the wild. I'll stick by my guns. I think there were on Noah's flood about 8,000 kinds of animals. I think there are still about 8,000 kinds of animals. Man has decided to call different names, like the different kinds of crows, okay? Or the 10 different kinds of ravens. Each one has a different name. Or the 72 kinds of herons. They've each got a name. The animals don't care. There are 7,371 varieties of frogs. And they might have had a common ancestor called a frog. But you guys, with your stupid chart, have the frog, related to the sunflower. You say the frog is related to the elephant and the horse and the humans. This is stupid, Wade. This is real stupid. There's no kind way to say it. I agree there's 7,000 varieties of frogs, and they might have come from 2 frogs. They might have come from 50 different kinds of frogs. I don't know how many God made, but I know they're not related to a sunflower. But you guys try to muddy the water. Wow, what's a species? See, you don't know. Therefore, frogs are related to roses and sunflowers and butterflies and cockroaches. As far as killing a fly with a hammer, it certainly can be done. Spray him with a little glue first so he holds still and smack him. I guarantee he's not resistant to the hammer, okay? So you brought up quite a few things. Yes, there are physical limits. Force equals mass times acceleration. I've taught physics for years. I love the topic, okay? So where did these forces come from? Where did the energy come from? You guys don't give an answer for where matter came from to begin with, okay? I think you want to know about there's natural selection. I agree. As far as the cow jumping over the moon, I do that purposely so maybe some of your listeners will be smart enough to see, wow, I believe something dumb. There's 450 breeds of cows. Yeah. Does that prove they're related to sunflowers? No. Well, then why do you have them on your chart with lines connecting them? This is a propaganda poster. That's all it is. It's not a science poster. Pure propaganda. So yes, there are natural limits. Cows always, what's been observed scientifically is they only make baby cows. There are no exceptions. If you know of one, I'd like to see it. Well, every farmer on the planet will tell you that's what happens. I used to raise hamsters and sell them to pet stores when I was a kid. That was my hobby and money-making business, my first business when I was like 10 years old. Daddy taught me how to start your own business. So they always made baby hamsters. I had albino hamsters and hairy hamsters and, thick hair, long hair hamsters, and always baby hamsters. And most of the varieties that we are calling new species, the 41,000 species, you're so proud of that number, probably could be narrowed down to 8,000 basic kinds of animals. If you would give me an example of many of these 41,000, I think I could go back and classify them. Look, all 72 varieties of heron are probably still a heron, okay? The dairy cows, the beef cows, the Angus and the Hereford and all that, they're still cow. So they might be different species, but they're still cow. They said there's limits by gravity. Yes, the cow cannot jump over the moon. I said that purposely. Maybe some of your people would get it. I've got a video of a cow jumping over a 6-foot fence. actually a bull. Okay. In San Francisco, they don't know the difference, but I can tell them the difference. Come try to milk our bull. You'll see the difference quickly. Okay. So there is a limit how high they can jump. But you guys say that a protozoa, which is pretty tiny, somehow, through magic, evolved into a whale, which is 100 feet long. How did the protozoa slowly, over millions of generations, how did he get eyes and ears and a respiratory system and lungs and skin and flippers and flukes and teeth? And how did that turn to a whale? Why are we teaching this to the kids? This isn't science. Why? I agree. There's variety. Pick an animal, beavers. Okay, there are currently 2 different living varieties of beavers in the world, the American and the Eurasian. They might have had a common ancestor called a beaver. I don't know. But you got a line connecting the beaver to the butterfly. The beaver and the butterfly have a common ancestor. This is stupid. I think it ought to be criminal. Maybe with Trump in there now, we can do something with our school system. I'm going to write him a letter. So I want to be the head of education. Get all the lies out of the textbooks. This is a lie. This is not science. If you believe it, that's fine. I don't care if everybody believes it. It doesn't make it part of science. See, science ought to be protected from all the different religious stuff you evolutionists keep throwing in there. Okay, a dog the size of Texas, maybe you're going to get it. There is a limit. Currently, the biggest dog is 44 inches at the withers. Or the shoulder? Why don't they get one 50, 60, 70, 80, 200 inches? Why? There's a limit. There are animals that are much bigger than dogs. They don't seem to have a problem with their bones and respiratory system. There's elephants. Why don't we get a dog as big as an elephant? Would that help you? Is it possible to get a dog as big as an elephant? How did the amoeba turn to the dog in the first place? It gained a whole lot of weight. We've never seen an amoeba produce anything besides baby amoeba. It just doesn't happen. You guys are living in fairy tale land. I bet you like video games. An imaginary world. Wow. Evolution's an imaginary world. It didn't happen, Wade the wizard. Okay, you imagine you're a wizard. Okay, you're living in dream world, Wade. Okay, wake up. What, did I miss anything? Yes, God could create anything he wanted. And I think God gave an incredible variety of things just so we could marvel at it. I did a whole series. I think I did 100 different plants and animals called Making Babies. None of you atheists answered any of my simple questions. Explain how this evolved. Here's how this animal produces after its kind. Can you explain how that process evolved? Last night, I did a program.
10 seconds.
Did a program on the hair. All the scientists in the world cannot make a single hair and the skin it grows from. Not a single one. You can't do it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Kent. And also Wade for those responses on topic 2. Wade, let's throw it over to you before we move to topic 3. Is there anything that you wanted to interact with or engage? Go ahead.
Yeah, let me... Okay, so the question was, what are the limits of an omnipotent God? And Kent said, there are no limits. So let me present, if I can, real quick, share screen. Let me know when that's up.
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, so we talked about the limits. And I thought, Kent was going to do this like straw man of it's kind of out here, like these limits are way out here, but it's even worse. Excuse me. Here we are. There are no limits. No limits. And you know what? Evolution is still feasible within those limits. So I'll go ahead and take the point for that round, unless Kent wants to respond, or we'll just move on to the next topic.
No. You said evolution is still feasible.
Yeah.
Wade, it's not observable. Nobody sees
changes
this
in the
happen.
heritable characteristics of populations over successive generations. That's observed in every species.
It is not observed that the amoeba can turn to a whale and a sunflower. It is not observed.
That's such a straw man.
No, it's not. It's a common sense that you don't understand common sense. There are 70
Find
varieties
one
of sun.
phylogeny chart where it couldn't possibly be. You always go from these like extremes. It's like the mosquito and the whale. But what about these tiny, like the fox and the wolf? Is that possible? Is that within the limits? What are these limits?
I think probably each one of these
There's
animals.
there's no limits. There's no limits,
Yeah,
right?
let me answer the question.
So evolution still is feasible.
You asked me a question. Saying it's feasible does not mean it's science or has happened. Each one of these creatures on here, or plants, could probably have their own little family tree. I bet all 70 varieties of sunflowers came from a sunflower.
So what I mean by feasible, let me just, before you go off on another tangent, to say it's feasible, when we're talking about evolution, if you are somehow able to disprove, if you're somehow able to explain how it's not feasible, the default position isn't therefore God did it, therefore young earth creationism. It's we don't know. Okay, it's skepticism. You have to provide some kind of argument for what these limits are according to God, and apparently there's no limits. So
no, you don't misquote me. I said God has no limits. He could make whatever he wanted. He chose to make a beautiful.
He's limited by. He's actually limited by monophyly, the law of monophyly. We don't see six-legged mammals. We don't see photosynthesizing reptiles. We don't see asexual reproduction in birds. Why is that?
Well, hold it. You're the one who thinks a protozoa went to photosynthesizing plants and non-photosynthesizing animals. You're the one's got to explain it. And look, the burden of proof's not on me. You want all of us to pay for your religion to be taught. I have said many times, I don't think, I believe God created the world. I admit mine's a religion. You will not admit that yours is a religion. You can't answer where time came from, where space came from, where matter, where energy came from, where life came from, how any creature has ever produced a different kind of creature. You said the definition of species was bring forth feasible offspring that are fertile, okay? Offspring of protozoa are always protozoa. Why do you have a chart with a protozoa going to an elephant and a whale and a human and a sunflower? Why? Why do you have that chart?
Okay, I'll try and explain that. So science has observed these changes in the heritable characteristics of populations over successive generations. We've observed evolution, right?
No.
And as all of science has defined evolution, okay?
No.
I'm trying to get to the point.
Okay.
So evolution are these changes, reproduction, mutations, and natural selection. And we've looked for these limits, okay? So we say like, okay, well, we know a wolf and a dog are related, but what about a protozoa and a whale? Like, is there a limit to this relatedness? And we've looked and we've studied all these different species, and we found that, well, yeah, there's limits. There's limits to physics. There's limits to natural selection. There's limits to time, limits to monophyly. But there's nothing, okay, Kent, there's no limit that says a whale couldn't possibly be related to a mosquito. What is the limit? Where is that limit?
Well, you're missing the
apparently limited to that, so or not. But
are you done? Okay. The limit, as far as science goes, is observation. We don't see mosquitoes ever produce anything but baby mosquitoes. If you wish to imagine in your imaginary world that they're related to whales, okay. But that's not science. That's my whole point. You have a religion, Wade, nothing but a religion. Evolution is a religious cult. You believe whales and mosquitoes are related, don't you?
Oh, as much as I enjoy this, I kind of want to just move on to the next point.
You didn't answer my question.
Not like
you didn't answer. Do you believe whales and mosquitoes are related? Yes.
Yes, of course they're related. Yes, Ken. All life, common descent. That's what we're talking about. Common descent, one ancestor into all life, okay? Or a magical designer, whatever that means. So let's move into the next topic.
I get that point, by the way. Go ahead.
Battle of the points. So
evolution's still feasible with your unlimited limits. So
feasible doesn't mean observable. It's feasible that I could work out the rest of my life and lift the Empire State Building. I can't
explain science to you. I'm sorry.
You don't need to. I need to explain it to you. Go ahead.
You don't understand what feasibility means, but so like that's okay. Let's move on.
Guys, good banter. Appreciate it. Good engaging. entertaining debate. So it does work because topic 3 is relatedness. So we're moving along
Hey, what do you know
smoothly. Every
about that?
topic
It's almost as if I planned it.
Well, here we go.
Talk
Relatedness,
about relatedness.
topic 3. Let's continue having some fun. So Wade, I'll reset the timer. And I do see your slides now. So you're good to go.
Relatedness. Let's talk about relatedness. How do we know, or more specifically, how do we determine relatedness? How do we know specifically that a dog, wolf, and a coyote are more closely related than a banana? You know, there's got to be some kind of, you know, like methodology. Science is all about these methodologies, these explanations, these models. How do we determine that they're related? So the explanation from common descent is taxonomy. And I'm not sure if, oh, okay, yeah, so it did switch. So taxonomy. Taxonomy is the scientific study of naming, defining, and classifying groups based on characteristics. How related are they? So here we go down to the taxonomic characterization that can provide evidence to relationships, to relatedness. And those characteristics include morphological characteristics, including general external morphologies, special characteristic or structures like genitalia, internal morphologies, the anatomy, the embryology, karyology, like the chromosomes and other cell biology. We have physiological factors like metabolic factors, body secretions, genetics, sterility factors. Now, let me just pause real quick. This is a very simplified, summarized, like each DNA hybridization, that's a whole other field of study. Anyway, we have molecular characters, immunological distances, amino acids, DNA hybridization, okay, behavioral characteristics. You get the point. There's courtship, there's ecological characteristics, habitat, food, seasonal variation, parasite host, biogeographic distribution. It's a very rigorous, well-defined science that determines how related are, and there's whole databases defining exactly how related different species are. So let me jump back to this. Yep. Now I want to explain why Kent intentionally misleads and avoids defining what relatedness is. So if Kent says, oh, well, relatedness means that they can produce fertile offspring. Oh, but we have a problem. We can't go from 1,400 fertile offspring reproducing species to over 40,000 species. That's a problem. So it has to be more rigorous, more well-defined than that. Oops. So, but if Kent says, oh, well, maybe it's some of these taxonomic characterizations like morphology, physiology, molecular characteristics, behavioral characteristics, ecological. Well, with the same logic that we can determine that the caninae, the wolf, dog, coyote, are related, we should be able to apply that same logic to gorillas, chimps, and humans. Oh no, not humans and chimps. Not humans, they're not hominidae. No way, man. So we have this moving goalpost. This over. Oh, they can make babies, but we have the problem of speciation. Oh, but maybe it's a taxonomic trait. Oh, but humans aren't related to chimpanzees. So, Kent, how do you define relatedness? Thank you, and I'll turn the time over.
All right. Kent. Well, thank you. Okay, put the slides up, brother.
And just to let you know, that round is what, Wade? Let me see. 5 minutes. So Kent, you get 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, I'll give him a quick science lesson. The word science means knowledge. What do we know? It's based on observation, experimentation, and testing. I think we can experiment and test. They've been able to crossbreed a dog and a wolf. They've been able to crossbreed a wolf and a coyote. They've been able to crossbreed a dog and a coyote. They can produce babies, okay? That is, it's observable, it's been tested, it's been demonstrated. Nobody has been able to crossbreed a wolf and a banana. Nobody's been able to crossbreed a coyote and a banana. I think a 4-year-old can tell you the banana doesn't belong in that group. So then these have been crossbred, dogs, wolves, coyotes. Your silly slide about apes, chimpanzees, and humans, they can't crossbreed, Wade. Have you tried to crossbreed? I wouldn't have, never mind. You don't have to answer that question. If you tried to crossbreed with an ape or a chimpanzee, okay, no telling. But it can't be done. There are a different number of chromosomes. They will not interbreed. It can't be done. So yes, it is science where we can observe, study, test. We can observe dogs and wolves can interbreed. They normally don't. They probably don't want to, but they could if they had to, okay? So they probably are the same kind. And you're stuck on your silly numbers. I said about 8,000, not 1,400. And I said there are probably still about 8,000 kinds of animals. Man, in order to get money for finding a new species of some leopard frog in the desert or something, they're still a frog. So what they're doing is trying to split hairs and make new species to get this giant number. It's 41,000 species or 10 billion species. It doesn't matter. The animals know what kind they are. So what we can observe, which is science, we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate that dogs, wolves, coyotes can interbreed and therefore probably had a common ancestor. That would be logical deduction. It would not be a logical deduction to go further than that and say, wow, the coyote and the banana have one. But on your stupid chart, you've got banana plants and coyotes going back to a common ancestor. This is stupid. This isn't science. This is a religious propaganda poster for the evolution religion. That's all it is. I think we could probably make a family tree of dogs. I think that would be reasonable. Let's see. And that's been done. There are 339 recognized breeds of dogs by the American Kennel Association. Still a dog. And they have them up to 44 inches tall and down to, 4.8 inches tall. One guy debated, what's his name? I forget. Rationality Rules, whatever. It's not rational, but he said probably all the dogs from India, China, North America, Europe came from the gray wolf. That's certainly reasonable. But it does not mean they came from an amoeba or a protozoa or bacteria, whatever you want to start with. So this is not science. That's all. God said they'd bring forth after their kind. Darwin talked about the origin of species. Evolution is the proverbial self-licking ice cream cone, okay? Coyotes can mate with a dog. Here's a coyote Australian shepherd mix. It's known wolves in the eastern United States can mate with coyotes. Coyote meets wolf, coy wolf. Okay, let's see. Coy dog, mating a male coyote with a female dog. There it is, okay? So 40 subspecies of wolf might have had a common ancestor called a wolf. And maybe the whole, or whatever you call that thing, and other types of dog-like animals could indeed be the same kind of animal. But that doesn't prove they're related to a sunflower and they come from an amoeba. How can you be so blind as to not see that? It's obvious. This is man putting our classification on the animals. It's you deciding there's 41,000 animals and they couldn't fit on Noah's Ark. For heaven's sake, you think all the animals in the world fit in a dot smaller than an atom. You think the whole world fit in that dot. The whole universe came from a dot smaller than an atom exploding. That's stupid. There's no kind way to say it, son. That's real stupid. And you swallowed the Kool-Aid. I'm sorry. You should not have done that. So I don't need to define. See, I'm not asking my faith to be taught at taxpayer expense. The burden of proof is 100% on you if you want everybody to teach the kids that all these animals are related. There are 450 recognized breeds of cows. They might have had a common ancestor called a cow. I think you could draw a family tree back to 2 cows getting off of Noah's Ark. Probably so. I think you could take a medium-sized dog animal and end up with a Great Dane and a Chihuahua with selective breeding. Natural selection can do it, or artificial selection can do it. But you're selecting a slice of an already existing gene code. You're not creating anything new. So yes, each of these animals could probably have their own little family tree. That would be science. This is not science. The whole chart. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Kent and Wade, for those roughly 5-minute statements on topic number 3. We've gone through speciation, limits, and relatedness. Wade, if there's anything you'd like to interact with or respond to, feel free to do so. The floor is yours again.
Yeah, so how do you define relatedness was the question. Kent brought up essentially 2 points. There was they can reproduce fertile offspring, which is the definition of species, and currently there's over 40,000 species that they just can't reproduce fertile offspring with each other. And then the other point that Kent was, well, I mean, I don't need to present everything, but observations, right? Science is what we can observe with our eyeballs. Well, science has observed through taxonomy things like morphological characteristics, physiological characteristics, molecular characteristics, behavioral characteristics, ecological characteristics. It's all observed. Science observes this stuff all the time, man. They make these beautiful phylogeny charts defining relatedness, and they can determine that, oh, actually, you know what? A wolf is more closely related to a dog than it is a fox, you know, or like, oh, the gorilla or humans are more closely related to chimpanzees than chimpanzees are related to gorillas, because there's a very rigorous, systematic, scientific way of defining relatedness. But I asked Kent, how do you define relatedness? And he said, well, they can make babies. Oh, but you're talking about speciation. So I guess evolution's true, and I'll take the point for this round again.
Fight for the point, guys. Fight for the point. Kent, what would you like to respond to there? Go ahead.
Well, all we've observed is we can get family trees of each of these different kinds of animals, and we can't go any further than that. There seems to be a limit on dog size. They now have dogs down to 4 inches tall, teacup chihuahua.
But apparently there's no limit. There's no limit according to God.
I said God.
Why hasn't God made a dog the size of Texas, Kent?
Well, I'll ask him to make one, have him come poop on your lawn. How's that? You and your wife can shovel it up for the rest of your life, okay? So this is so silly what you're doing. God's not limited.
Silly.
Yeah, God made a world and put creatures onto it, an amazing variety of creatures. I don't know what the next world's going to have. Heaven's a whole lot bigger. Maybe there are dogs the size of Texas up there. So the family trees that you make, claiming that they're related because you drew a line on paper connecting them. You have the ape and the chimpanzee.
Yeah, the lines on paper. Let's talk about the lines on paper. You know how they draw those lines on paper?
Yes, pencil or pen, either one. Yeah, or maybe computerized. But
Oh,
it's all
please,
stupid. It's all stupid. Wait, all stupid. Go ahead.
Morphological characteristics, physiological characteristics, molecular characteristics, behavioral it's taxonomy. It's a very systematic, rigorous definitions. Okay, how do you define relatedness? They can make babies.
Okay,
that's it. I guess.
You
Okay.
said
I don't know.
Taxonomy is the classification. So because
Yeah,
we can,
that's how they draw the lines.
Right. So because we can classify all the frogs in a group called frog, therefore we can draw a line between frog and mosquito and sunflower. That's stupid, Wade.
That's a straw man.
That's what do you mean? It's right here.
You go from these like this branch way over here. How are these related? I'm not talking about right. Way over here. All right.
Yeah.
Should we talk about design? Let's move on. Let's move on.
I think all 70 varieties of sunflowers are related and came from a common ancestor called a sunflower.
How do you determine relatedness, Kent? How do you determine that they are related?
There are
flowers?
lots of things. There are lots of things to look at there. You're right. There are physical characteristics. I think sunflowers are able to take.
So chimps and humans are related because we have physical characteristics. Oh, no?
No. Why do you think that? The different number of chromosomes. We're both attracted by gravity.
Yeah, chromosomes is another thing that taxonomy scientists and.
Now wait a minute. I live in a gravel pit here. We have mountains of gravel that are they're all attracted by gravity. So are you attracted by gravity. So you're related to a rock, aren't you?
So when I talked about
you got physical characteristics. Now you're both attracted by gravity. You both take up space. Mm-hmm. You're both dense.
Yeah, gravity wasn't one of those characteristics listed in the taxonomic classification.
Oh, okay. So you got a question for Wade? Oh, okay.
So you really can't define relatedness. So let's just go ahead and move on.
I think it's observable that some creatures are related. It's not, we can't
all
tell
the
if some are
taxonomic characterizations are observable.
Okay, are you related to a mosquito?
Yes.
Why? Why do you think that? Why do you think you're related
Because
to
of
a
the
mosquito?
morphological characteristics, the
Do you have 6 legs? Mosquitoes
physical.
do. Do you have wings? Can you poke your nose into somebody and draw out their blood? Never mind, you're a wizard. I won't ask that. Okay.
But here's the thing. Like, okay, let me just make this one point, and then we'll move on. So, common descent has a way to define relatedness through taxonomy and phylogenies. But common designer, how do you define it? Yeah, no one knows. All right. So let's go ahead and move on.
Wait, no, you gave me the point, Wade. You said common descent. Well, that's making babies. I would agree. All the mosquitoes in the world might have come from mosquitoes.
But here's the problem. So it's making babies. That's how we determine relatedness.
That's one. Okay.
There are over 40,000 species
41,
that can only make babies within their group. They can't all fit on the boat. They can't fit on the boat.
You don't know that.
What do you mean you don't know?
You made up a number. Listen to me. You made up a number that there's 41,000 species and they can't interbreed.
You know how many scientific databases classify like every specific species, and especially we're talking about reptiles, amphibians, birds, mammals, reptiles, like they can reproduce fertile offspring. There's over 40,000 of these unique specific species.
Okay.
They can't all fit on the boat, Kent. They can't fit on the boat.
Wait, for the record, Your Honor, are you saying that none of those 41,000 are interfertile with any of the other 41,000?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
Well, then you're
100%.
I get the point. Then I get the point.
Fertile offspring. We have hybridizations. We have the zebra horse. We have the zorse.
Right.
It can't produce fertile offspring.
Is that number 41,000 include the zebra and the horse as 2 different numbers?
Yes.
Oh, well, but they can produce. Sometimes they're fertile too, by the way. Okay.
Oh my God. You're grasping it.
No.
Grasping.
You're making up that stupid number.
Oh no.
No, I'm fine. Listen, I challenge you to prove to me that none of those 41,000 can interbreed with any of the other 41,000.
Okay, let me give you a buffer. Let's say 30,000. You think 30,000 specific species could fit on the ark? No, come on.
I think I've said it about 8 times. Maybe you'll get it if you take your hat off. Maybe you'll get it. I said there are about 8,000 kinds of animals on the ark. Okay, that's
now it's 8,000. Okay,
it's been that all night, Wade. You aren't listening again. I said probably about 8,000 kinds of animals are on the ark. And they've now diversified. Some can handle cold climate. Some can handle warm climate. They might have had a combination.
So we go from 8,000 species to around a soft estimate like 30,000 species. How did that happen?
It didn't happen.
Is evolution.
I told you how it happened.
Let's move on.
Thank you. It was money.
Right.
No, you want to move on because you're losing
money. What the? You're such a conspiratorial thinking, like, oh, everyone's in on it. Oh,
how many species are there?
Man?
I'll tell you what, if you know what a species is, you're the first one. Species is difficult to define, National Pornographic said.
Kent, the very first talking point. Hold on.
I think I won that point big time, Wade. Nobody knows what a species is.
Stop.
You don't know what a species is. Oh my
God, Kent.
You don't know what a species is.
We're talking
Nobody does. The word is undefinable. Charlie Darwin said the word is undefinable.
Well, the thing is, you haven't done any research.
I showed you the peer-reviewed journals. Let's see, nature.com. We cannot define what a species is. Scientific American. I've done my research, Wade. You don't know what a species is. Nobody knows what a species is. But you are claiming there's 41,000 species. You're the first one that ever know what it is. Is a dog and a wolf different species? Can they interbreed? Yeah. Well, why are they different species?
Gentlemen,
I think Wade wants to move
It's
on. He's embarrassed.
difficult
Go
to
ahead.
define what a species is for all living organisms, plants, fungi, bacteria, right? But if we're just talking about tetrapods, if we're just talking about, let's just focus on the animals in the ark, okay? Just a small group: reptiles, birds, amphibians, mammals. They can produce fertile offspring. Definition: species. They can produce fertile offspring. That's it. That's a species.
Well, you're the first one to know, because everybody else says we don't know what species are. We don't know what it is. It's
Actually, I'm not the
for
first
decades.
one to know. I'm just the first one to bring it up
Put
in
my
your
slides
argument,
up.
in your
Put
debate.
my slides up. Okay.
Whoa! No, Kent.
26.
Every time you bring up those definitions, they're talking about all life, all life, all
Wait.
life. We're not talking about plants. We're not talking about fungus.
Southern
We're not
Utah
talking about
University.
bacteria. We're not talking about viruses. We're talking about birds, amphibians, reptiles, mammals.
I pointed out for 10 minutes, and you didn't get a word I said. For the first 10 minutes, nobody knows what a species is.
You rambled on about the same.
Nobody knows what it is.
We got to move on.
We better move on.
Nonsense.
You're claiming there's 41,000 species, but nobody knows what a species is. How do you know there's 41,000?
No, there's a perfectly clear definition of species. When it comes to, yes, when it comes to amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals.
You're the first one to know that. Natures cannot agree about what
You're the first one to be told that.
Charles Darwin said, we don't know what it is. They're defining the undefinable. Wow. Yeah, all right. So there aren't 41,000 to worry about going on the ark. There's about 8,000. For heaven's sake, you think all 41,000 came from one amoeba, don't you? Don't you?
Is an amoeba a reptile, bird, amphibian?
No. So why does this chart have
so maybe that definition of species doesn't apply in this particular situation. So let's move on.
Reptiles, mammals coming from an amoeba. That's what your chart says. That's what you want me to pay to have all the kids be taught, don't you? You think this should be taught in public schools?
Should we teach science in schools?
Yes, this isn't science. The question was, listen to me, listen carefully.
According to wait, hold on. You say it's not science. According to what?
According to me. Should this be taught?
According to you. Okay, so
should this be taught? Should this be taught?
Every other scientist disagrees with you. So let's go ahead and move on.
Wait, answer the question. Should this be taught in public schools that the humans and the sunflowers have a common ancestor? Should that be taught?
How do you define relatedness, Kent?
You're not he's avoiding the question, Your Honor.
You avoided the question. How do you define relatedness?
You gave the same definition I did. Can they have a common descent? Can they produce offspring? Yes, sunflowers cannot produce offspring.
Okay, then speciation from 1,000 to 40,000 is impossible. So I get that point, and let's move on.
Should this be taught in public schools? Is this really science?
Can you provide an argument that would explain it's not science?
I'm willing to bet $5 right now. You are a Democrat and thought camel hair would be a good president.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, let me jump in. We like to keep it PG-13.
How is that not science? How is that not science? Provide an argument.
It just shows
Democrat. What the hell? You're on the edge of a cliff.
It shows you don't have any common sense. Okay, you believe you're related to an amoeba, and your great-great-grandpa was an amoeba, and you're related to a potato. You think this is science. I simply point out, even if this later is proven to be true, as of today, 2024, this isn't observable science. We never observe sunflowers make anything besides baby sunflowers. We never observe bears make anything besides bears. Man has decided to classify 8 kinds of bears. This chart has bears and sunflowers going back to a common ancestor. This isn't science. Nobody knows what a species is. At least maybe you do. Let's look at definition of species. It's arbitrary. Species. Ernst Mayr, German ornithologist.
Hold on.
Donny, I showed you all this, Wade.
Species again.
Well, because you didn't get it first time, Wade.
Okay, guys, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. Since Wade, you kicked off the round, we'll give Kent the last word there.
And Donny,
Leave it up.
these atheists need to learn a little bit of English, okay? You keep using this F word. That is a verb, not an adjective, okay? Learn some English. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. And for these debates, especially on this channel, we do like to keep it free from those kinds of words. But gentlemen, I appreciate the energetic back and forth. I kind of let you guys go at it and duke it out, since you have had many at this point now uninterrupted responses. But let's move into our final round. Wade. Okay, he's back. So I thought you were just going to be debating his hat for the rest of the debate, Kat. So Wade is back. He's taking a breather. We're good to go. And okay, the final round, I think, if I understand the format correctly. So Wade, we'll throw it back to you, the wizard. Go ahead. As you're getting the slides up. Yeah, feel free to screen share. Once I see them, I'll put them up. To the audience, we are in our final round, which means you got a few minutes to send in your questions, your challenges, your objections, and we'll have some fun interacting with those. Wade, go ahead.
Wow. So to the question of whether evolution is science, are you a Democrat? That was a great one. So let's talk about design. Design. Interesting. So we've talked about design before, and Kent often goes on about non-biological. So we have organic design and inorganic design. And I'm not, my position is that all life is designed, but it's not designed by God. So how is it designed? And in science, there's more rigorous definitions of everything, more than just Kent's intuition. Like, oh, I think they're related. I think there's limits. I think, I don't know. Maybe this is my intuition. So we have a beaver dam. We have a log jam, which was designed. How do we determine this? There's got to be a systematic methodology. How do we do that? Common descent. So the explanation, this is an engineering design process where we start with defining the problem, we come up with requirements, we develop a solution, and then we test it. Does this meet the requirements? It doesn't maybe not meet the requirements, not so much. So we can have an iterative design process. But the big problem, the main point is the decision, right? So evolution design process, there's reproduction and mutation. That's observed. We observe that every time. We observe scientifically changes in the heritable characteristics, populations over successive generations. And then here's the decision process. Is it not beneficial, or is it beneficial for natural selection? So natural selection comes in and it picks, oh, you know what? That's a good design. That's a good design. We're going to go ahead and that'll be the survival of the fittest. And then they can reproduce again and mutate again. And then natural selection will pick. Is it beneficial, not beneficial? And, maybe if it's not as beneficial, they either die or they're not selected. Sexual selection is another type of selection. And this design process, it very well, it explains a lot of designs that we see in life. So we see goosebumps on humans and when we're cold or when we're scared. And we see that natural selection selected less hair for humans, but it kept the goosebumps because that was a vestigial trait. Childbirth. There's hundreds of thousands of women who die each year due to childbirth. That's because natural selection chose big brain humans over a small percentage of maternal deaths. Very sad. But apparently God, also with goosebumps, like God designed goosebumps maybe Kent can explain that. Childbirth. A lot of people are dying. Well, why did God do that? Well, because that's just not a good design. Just make the birth canal larger. I don't know, like teeth. All right, so we have one set of baby teeth and then the adult teeth, and we have millions of wisdom teeth extracted each year. Why is that? Well, natural selection. You can still reproduce with a few missing teeth. You can still eat some food with a few missing teeth. We can blend up our food. But why did God design that? That's a bad design. All right, so we have 80% of people have back problems. I've definitely had some back problems. That's because natural selection selected bipedal locomotion over a little bit of back pain. Our spines were initially designed through evolution to be quadrupedal. Why do we have nipples? Well, natural selection. This is actually, so we develop nipples in the fetus before our genitalia. And God, well, apparently Kent Hovind thinks that there'd be problems like child rape if men did not have nipples, even though child rape is a problem and men do have nipples. Interesting. So yeah, that's really not an answer. Oh, we have, so we can wiggle our ears. We have these muscles in our ears. That's because natural selection chose directional hearing, and a lot of mammals. This deer here can listen that way. But for humans, it's just a vestigial trait. Over 120,000 people dying from choking because the food, water, and air outlet is the same hole. That's a bad design. But natural selection, it's just a small percentage of the population. It doesn't really affect the evolution. And, there's a whole long list of really just, we get by. The design of the human, and I'm saying that evolution is designed because there is the decision process of natural selection, picking the better traits over the worst traits. There's a lot of not so great designs, but you know what? It works. It works well enough, and we can reproduce just fine. So my question isn't what is design? We have snowflakes that are naturally occurring. There's no design process, and we have a virus. So that's designed. Yep, designed by evolution. We have a basalt rock. This is not designed. This is just a function of the molecules. We have a honeycomb. This is a coral reef. We have a pineapple, a plant. These are not designed. So, but my question, I want to focus on, why did God, an omniscient, so this all-knowing, this super intelligent God, this all-powerful God, this omnibenevolent, caring God, why did he make goosebumps? Why can we wiggle our ears? Why do we have back pain? These are bad designs. These are stupid designs. Why do we have nipples, Kent? And that will be, yeah. Go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want you to focus. I want you to go on. The main question is like, so God is this all-powerful, all-loving, all-knowing. He's super intelligent, and yet he intentionally created humans with things like goosebumps, nipples, and we didn't even cover all, like the appendix, the tailbone, the laryngeal nerve. You want to talk about that? Why did God make such bad designs? Thank you.
Okay, let's wrap it up there. Wade, appreciate it. A few surprises in tonight's debate. One of them being I wasn't expecting to be looking at a slide of your nipple, but I guess it went with the argument you were making. No, Wade, we don't need to see that. But we will.
I tattooed a heart on my nipple.
I'm proud.
I did that myself.
Very proud of you, Wade. And okay, Kent, 8 minutes to respond to his design argument. Go ahead.
Well, first place, natural selection. Wait, look carefully at the phrase. It can only select. It doesn't create anything. Mutations don't create anything new and improved and good. Mutations are harmful, fatal, or neutral. So if you're going to select from all the bad mutations, you're going to end up everything going extinct. Natural selection only selects. It's not a creative process. Creationists have no argument with natural selection. It's a conservative process. It keeps the species strong. Natural selection might have a stabilizing effect. It does not promote speciation. It's not a creative force, according to Science Magazine, a peer-reviewed journal. Natural selection can only act on properties that already exist. It cannot create properties. Natural selection works just fine, and all it does is select. It's one of the lies in the textbooks that this can lead to evolution. No, it cannot. A factory that produces cars has a quality control. If the car doesn't pass the test at the end, it'll be rejected. It's a selection process. Some don't make it through the selection. That doesn't turn the car to an airplane. Okay? We agree there's a great range of dog sizes, but there's a limit. Are you going to get one ½ inch tall? There are animals ½ inch, a lot of insects and stuff. There's animals like bears and elephants that are much bigger than this. Why don't we get one that big? So you asked about 40 questions, Wade. It's kind of unfair to do that with only 8 minutes to respond. We have another debate if you'd like, anytime, okay? And you can wear the hat and tattoo your other nipple, okay? I use the illustration of cars, and atheists will say, well, it's not fair because cars don't reproduce. Well, adding reproduction to the system makes it a whole lot more complicated. Why don't any of you answer any of the questions? I did 100 shooting targets for you to go after. How animals or plants make babies. Nobody attacked a single one of those. Can you give an evolutionary, a logical, sequential, scientific explanation for how any creature or animal makes babies? And I can't believe you brought up goosebumps. For heaven's sake, there's a little bitty muscle around each hair, at the base of each hair, that makes the hair stand up. That's amazing design. That's not a poor design. It holds the hair up and it traps a layer of air and it helps keep you warmer. That's a design feature. And if you're going to go into tailbone, you've not watched my video series, tailbone, coccyx. Now wait, if you think the tailbone is vestigial, I, Kent Hovind, will remove yours, okay? I'll even clean my Swiss Army knife. You can come down here to Lenox, Alabama. I'll sharpen it and clean it. If you think you don't need it, come down. I'll take it. I know right where it's at. I'll take it out, okay? The tailbone is not vestigial. The appendix is not vestigial. You are way behind on your science, son, okay? You brought up to me wisdom teeth. Now, for heaven's sake, the Bible says very clearly that before the flood came, the people lived to be 900 and probably were growing much bigger. Today, we're living in a fallen world compared to what Adam and Eve had. Let's suppose people used to be much bigger in the past, and as they grow, the wisdom tooth usually comes in anywhere from 16 to 18 years old, roughly. Then you'd be bigger where you would need it. There have been examples of people getting a third set of teeth. Could it be we were designed when you get to be 130 years old, those teeth fall out and you grow another set? Maybe you grow a whole new set every 100 years. I don't know. We don't live long enough to find out. But I think it was all designed, and the wisdom tooth comes in just at the right time when your jaw's bigger. Many people don't have trouble with their wisdom teeth. If you do, it's because we're defective compared to the original designed Adam and Eve. If you have back problems because we're bipedal, for heaven's sake, wait, crawl on all four. Don't suffer with back pain, son. Get down on your hands and knees and crawl. That'll solve the problem. Gee whiz, don't blame God for that one. It's you that decided to walk on 2 legs. I bet you crawled when you were little. Why did you get up on 2 legs? That was dumb. Go back to 4, man. You won't have any back problems. Let's see. Ear muscles. Those are amazing. We still today use those ear muscles. I did a study on that just a few weeks ago on our channel here. I forget what the date was on that. That's not a vestigial structure. And you talked about bad design. God's a bad designer. Well, take that up with him. Charles Darwin said, to suppose that the eye could have been formed by natural selection seems, I freely confess, absurd. Charlie's right. Your eye, 1 square inch, has 137 million light-sensitive cells. You're excited about your 41,000 species. Wait, there's 137 million cells all connected to the brain through the optic nerve. How did that evolve? Slowly. The trilobite has the most complex eye ever discovered. Trilobite eyes are stunning. Some of them have way more than 137 million individual cells in cells in the eye, but the what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, the optic nerve has to carry all these signals back to a brain that has to decipher them. I did a radio debate with a guy, an atheist, one time. He said the human eye is poorly designed because the blood vessels are in front of the retina. Oh, that's a wonderful design because the blood vessels block the UV light. He said an octopus has a much better eye because its blood vessels are behind the retina. Well, the octopus live underwater, and the water blocks the UV light. They don't think God would do it that way, so it must be evolved. That's a silly argument for evolution. Bad design does not mean no design. It's a bad design. How about that? Who's going to go on that one? That's a bad design. It's still design. I think that's a bad design. I think that's a bad design. So is that. And so is that. Poke in the eye. I think that's a really bad design. But it still was. There's a designer involved. If you can't see the design in nature, I'm sorry, you have been blinded by your stupid religion of evolution. There's design everywhere we look. Good design. I think man is amazingly designed. The fact that we can see and hear and think and talk. If you think your body is nothing but random chemicals, nobody designed your body. Nobody designed your brain. How do you know you can trust the thinking process as you go through, Wade? You think about things and come to conclusions. Maybe you got some chemicals in there backwards. I'm pretty sure you do. So yes, poor design does not mean no design. Beam me up, Scotty. No intelligent life down here. You really believe that happened by natural selection over millions of mistakes? Nobody designed that. How can you not see this? I don't understand. Nobody designed that. You really believe that happened by chance? I don't have a problem marveling at the God who created it. I worship that God. God, you're amazing. That's amazing. All the animals, they seem to enjoy the way they are. The turkeys seem to like being turkeys. The dogs seem to like being dogs. I don't know. I can't help you. I don't think I can help you. I like these debates because it helps the people that watch. I think most people are watching that are saying, wow, this guy's insane. He doesn't get it. I know they don't get it. Donny, I've done a lot of these debates, and I don't think I ever convert the opponent, but help a lot of their people that follow them. So walk on your all four legs, come down here. I'll take your tailbone out. And I could remove all your goosebumps. That might hurt a little bit, but I could remove them all. Take a while. Okay. And natural selection only selects. And designing cars, did I cover all your points? I hope I got them. If not, schedule another debate. Go ahead.
Thank you, Kent. Is that a round 7 I hear between Wade and Kent?
Anytime.
You guys will be.
Are we gonna have audience questions and stuff like that? It's been almost 2 hours, brother. So let's hurry up here. I'm tired.
Yeah, Wade, are you okay if we go to
an hour and a half, bro? Almost 2 hours.
Hour 40 minutes, Wade.
1:35. I'm looking at the number on the screen.
It is 8:40. We started at 7 o'clock. I worked on Noah's Ark today. I've been climbing up and down ladders. I've been hauling lumber. I've had a rough day. I'm old.
It's a rough day.
Yeah, it's a rough. I actually work for a living. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Donny.
Kent, Wade, you guys love each other. I appreciate the love. So, Wade, did you want? I'll allow for 2 minutes of interaction on this, not as much as we did in the previous rounds, and that way we can still get a little bit of questions in. Okay, Wade. So go ahead. Is there anything you wanted to push back on in terms of what Kent said?
Well, my argument wasn't that. I agree that life is designed. It's through a process of natural selection. There's a decision process picking the best mutations. So, and I think evolution explains design better. But my question was, why did an all-powerful, all-knowing God give men nipples? But you didn't really address the question. So I guess that's a point for me.
No.
I think I got all 4 points.
I will remove your nipples when I take your tailbone out. Bring them down. Okay.
But so here's the thing. Okay, this is one thing I want to let's talk about this. Vestigial anatomy. This is a thing. I don't know if anyone. Oh, you know what? Let me share my screen if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
Share screen. Vestigiality. Because I thought you might say something silly like this. So is it up there? All right. So when you do basic research, vestigiality is the retention during the process of evolution of genetically determined structures or attributes. Let's see. I don't need to process it. Features. The feature may be selected against more urgently when the function becomes definitively harmful, but if the lack of the feature provides no advantage and its presence provides no disadvantage, the feature may not be phased out by natural selection. So basically, like I would strongly suggest people do some research for vestigial anatomy, but basically either it's beneficial, neutral, or harmful. If it's harmful, natural selection weeds it out. But something like goosebumps, it's neutral. It's not very harmful. Beneficial, let's talk about beneficial vestigialities. Penguins have wings. They don't fly. So that's an advantage to that species. So, one thing, I don't know, Kent Hovind just has continued to misrepresent what vestigial anatomy is and what the science behind it is.
Okay. First place, Wade, there are no vestigial organs. But if there were, that's the opposite of evolution.
Based on what? Like, what's your...
That's losing
what's
something.
your
I did not interrupt you. Wade, shut up. It's my turn to talk, okay?
Wait, let's allow...
Well, you said there's no vestigial traits.
I said there aren't. You
based on what?
I let you talk for uninterrupted. Let me talk. There are no vestigial structures. There used to be a list of 180 vestigial structures 200 years ago. They did not know the function. We know the function of goosebumps. Did one goosebump evolve, or did they just happen to all evolve all at the same time all over your body? How did that evolve? I think it was designed so that the hair would stand up and trap a layer of air. Now, it works really good on other animals. Our turkeys come up when they get hot, they fluff their feathers up and the heat escapes from their body. So dogs can fluff the hair up and trap a layer of air. So I think goosebumps are not a vestigial structure. They're wonderful, okay? If you have a small amount of hair, that's your problem, okay? Shave it off. I'll shave it off for you too if you want. So vestigial structure. If you think the appendix is vestigial, it used to think so. They know now immune responses come from there. If your appendix is taken out, you have a higher susceptibility to quite a few diseases. You need to get up on your anatomy. There are no human vestigial structures I'm aware of. Pick a specific one. If you think the tailbone, you mentioned the tailbone, I'll take yours out, Wade. Your wife will not appreciate it, I can assure you. But well, maybe she would. But there aren't any. If there were, that's still the opposite of what you need. How do you go from an amoeba to a whale? By losing things. The amoeba doesn't have much to begin with. He's got to gain lungs, eyes, nose, flippers, skin. You got to gain a whole bunch of stuff. You guys treat his propaganda chart like it's part of science. It is stupid, real stupid. Tell everybody I said so. I'll debate anybody on that. Okay, Donny, go ahead. Audience questions. Was that his last point?
Wade, do you want to give Kent the last word since you started off each section, or what do you want to go to some audience questions? I'm sure you guys can debate this all night.
I was prepared to address there's a number of different issues that
he wants to see my nipple, I think. But go ahead.
Actually, I would love to see your nipple. Can we please,
guys? Let's.
Donny, will you show us a nipple?
You don't know. You don't know AJ, do you? Do you know AJ? Please. No. Never mind. Go ahead.
Hey, you're not going to get demonetized with nipple.
It's a nipple-free debate from now on. So,
okay.
All right.
Kent, Wade, we can do a round 7. We can do a round 8. It's been fun. It's been so fun. I didn't even realize it's been an hour and 45 minutes. So, Wade and Kent, let's
do questions. Okay, let's do these questions. Why not? Yeah.
Let's do some questions, and then we'll set around 7. We'll do this forever till the world ends. So, okay. All right, here we go. Let's I guess we'll start at the beginning here. Kent, a debate is not complete without at least one question from your biggest fan, creationist crybaby. Kent, creationists say evolution can't cause information increases. Creationists get by with this claim only by leaving the term information undefined. Please define information.
Good question. Tough one to answer. But see, the burden of proof is on you. I think we would say there's a lot of information, a lot of DNA code. How many lines of code are there to create Microsoft PowerPoint, for instance? Probably millions of lines of code. We would call that information, okay, written in a code. There's a code in our DNA, the most complex molecule in the universe. There's a code to do everything to make your goosebumps, to make your appendix. There's a code. The code, they said, the DNA code from one human, if you took all the DNA out, unwound it, stretched it out from one human, it would go across the solar system twice. That's the code carrying information that tells the body how to make proteins and how to make things like hair and muscles and bones and things like that. So, but see, I don't have to define information necessarily because I'm not asking for mine to be taught. You guys are wanting all of us to pay for this to be taught. That's evil. That's propaganda posters. All it is, a religious propaganda poster that all the kids have to look at and say, wow, they drew a line between the elephant and the sunflower. They got to be related. Some good artist drew a line. That's all it is. So we don't see any, would the amoeba, example, would this amoeba or protozoa, whatever you want to start with, would it have to gain some information in its genetic code to produce a lung in a whale or a heart bigger than a Volkswagen? Would it have to? I think there'd have to be a gain of information to produce the structures that these things have that this doesn't. This does not have eyes, ears, nose. It doesn't have legs to walk, the muscles to move the legs, bones for the animals that have bones. This amoeba had to gain a lot of information to do that. So where'd it come from? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Kent. Wade, you want to add anything? Go ahead.
Information increases. So typically, Kent will create a straw man and say that there's no beneficial mutations or like new mutations or new information or like evolution is the changes in heritable characteristics of biological populations over successive generations. Has nothing to do with new information or like beneficial mutation. It's just a change. Is this change, is this mutation, okay, which we observe, we scientifically observe mutations, we observe changes in populations. And does that proliferate in generations? Yes, it does. It's changes, it's just changes. That's all.
Thank you, Wade. Kent, you can have the last word. Question one's for you. Go ahead.
Okay, let's suppose we had a book in our computer, ebook, on how to grow potatoes. And through mutations in the code, we make thousands of mistakes. And now the book becomes how to rebuild an engine. Is that logical to think that could happen by random mutations and typographical errors in the book, how to grow potatoes? Now all of a sudden it comes out, how to rebuild your engine. Is that logical? That's new information. How to rebuild an engine is very different than how to grow potatoes. But you guys believe somehow that amoeba, which has its gene code, by the way, some of the single-cell creatures have many thousands of chromosomes in one single cell. Wow, we've only got 46. What happened? Information in the DNA code is gained or lost on your chart here. And if you look at the numbers, it doesn't work. You're worried about 41,000 kinds of animals fitting on Noah's Ark when you put all of them in a dot smaller than an atom, almost as small as an atheist brain. That's how small that dot had to be. So I'm stick by my guns. I think that we don't see this happen. It's not observable science. And I admit, I believe God did it. You will not admit that yours is a religion, will you, Wade?
Okay, next one's for you, Wade. Max M, $5 super chat. Appreciate the support. And here's the question, Wade the Wizard. Was the very first dog produced by a non-dog?
Yes. Next question.
Okay, short and sweet. Kent, any thoughts on that one?
Where's the evidence for that?
Oh, you want some evidence, huh?
That's what science means. Yes, evidence. You believe that? You made a statement that
So
you made
we talked about taxonomy, which is the classification of morphological characteristics, physiological characteristics, molecular characteristics, behavioral characteristics, ecological characteristics, geographic. They're like the whole body of science supports evolution. I don't know what do you mean, like
no. What I meant was no.
Question for Kent: what is a kind? How do you define a kind? Is a dog? Is there a dog kind?
You
is it related? Is it related? Can we define relatedness to a non-dog? What do you mean off track? We're talking about the very.
This guy asked a question. He gave money. Wait. What did this non-dog not have that a dog has? Did this non-dog have a tail? Did this non-dog have an eye or two eyes?
So this is another thing that you completely misrepresent with evolution. You think there's like what information was added, what information was like as if only information is deleted or removed.
Oh, okay.
It's so just changes.
Did the non-dog have 2 tails and 7 legs, or what did this
No.
If it came from a non-dog,
why didn't God create a dog with 2 tails?
You said it came.
He's
from
unlimited.
A non-dog.
He's unlimited.
Donny,
no limits.
I get this point. He's avoiding this question. He's avoiding this like the plague.
Avoiding the question. What are you talking about?
Got to be
guys. It's just turning into another debate. So let's move on to the next one. I do appreciate again the energy and the banter. Lots of fun. So okay, here we go. Wade, echoing erudite. Question for Wade. Humans have many taxonomically differences, like the dog, wolf, and coyote. Why are human beings not divided up into different species, or are we using race in its place?
Because we can produce fertile offspring, which is the definition of a species for mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and birds. But we talked about this. Kent has no definition of relatedness. He has no definition of limits. He has no explanation of how, Kent, did we go from 1,000 species to 40,000 species that can reproduce fertile offspring? All humans.
Whoa.
Stop laughing. Listen.
It's funny.
You talk about your variety. Oh, it's so funny.
It is.
Because you're wrong. You're feeling awkward. You're feeling backed into a corner.
No, I'm fine.
Listen.
I'm fine.
Variety of cows, variety of chickens, variety of corn, variety of potatoes. They're all the same species because they can reproduce fertile offspring. Humans can reproduce fertile offspring. It's the same species. What's a kind, Kent? What's a kind?
Wait. This is the audience asking questions now. Wait, it's their turn to ask the questions. Don't go off topic.
Oh, okay? Please answer this question. How are humans a different species?
They're not. But they are different from apes and chimpanzees and orangutans and bonobos.
How?
Those are totally unrelated.
How do you define relatedness?
They can't produce babies, can they? Have you tried to produce a baby with a chimpanzee or orangutan? Never mind. Don't answer.
So they can't produce babies. So now we're limited to the speciation problem, going from 1,000 species to 40,000 species after the ark.
40,000.
So
he's stuck on that number. We'll go back and add up how many times he went to. He's
how do you define relatedness, Kent?
We're answering this guy's question, Wade. Okay,
okay. Go ahead. Go ahead and answer it, please.
Okay, I'm trying. Echoing erudite. There's only one race of humans called the human race. There are different skin colors. Okay, there are different characteristics. Some have, thicker lips or slanted eyes or curly hair, straight hair. But we're all human. We're all interfertile. There's only one race called the human race, and there's no such thing as a black man or a white man. They're all shades of brown. I am not white, okay? I am not, this is the real me right here. Even that's not white. Here, I'll show you white. This is white. I am not white. I've never met a white man. If I did, I'd be running, okay? So I think there's one race called the human race. There's one race called chimpanzees, and they cannot interbreed with the apes or the gorillas or the humans. So they're not related at all. Chimpanzees are not related to humans in any way. We don't have a common ancestor with the apes and humans and gorillas and orangutans. No, we don't. They drew a line on paper connecting them, but that's not observable science. They got them connected to an amoeba. That's really not observable science. So I'm sorry, I'll answer the question. Why aren't humans divided up? Because we're all one species. And it's man deciding to call them a different race. Good. There's no such thing. No such thing as different races.
But the difference between my position and your position is I can define relatedness. I can define speciation, how that happens. I can define the limits.
Well, if you can define speciation, you're the first one because everybody else says they can't define it.
Oh, please, Ken. That's such a...
How many did I show you?
Why don't you actually do some research and change your talking points?
Why don't you write to Biology Dictionary and tell them you know what a species is? Why don't you write
I don't need to. It's been done. Science has already defined all of this. Yes. And the whole entire scientific consensus is that
you did not pay attention. What's a species? To this day, they struggle with...
What is a species? They can produce fertile offspring. Thank you. Let's move on.
You publish in Scientific American and say, I, Wade the Wizard, know what a species is. Publish an article
within
on that.
The tetrapod, the family or super species. I can't subspecies.
Wade, I'm sorry, Donny. I think the cheese done fell out of the sandwich here. Go to the next question, would you?
Yeah. Let's
okay, here we go, guys. Next,
failed to answer that question.
You guys are having good, fun, stimulating mini debates per question. So here we go. Next one. Sydney Raptor. Question for Kent. You said 8,000 kinds on the ark. So with clean and unclean at a generous 50 to 50%, that would be 64,000 animals on the ark. Is that even logistically possible?
Well, I think you're starting with a false premise. We don't know those numbers, okay? I said very clearly that the bearmanology.com website claims that there are about 8,000 kinds of animals that would need to go on the ark. You don't need fish on the ark because they have plenty of water to swim in. You don't need insects. They can survive on floating log mats, okay? Birds and mammals and reptiles had to go on the ark. Some of the reptiles, of course, survive in the water. So the 50-50, I don't know where you get that, clean and unclean. You're getting that from the Hebrew definition 1,000 years later when God told Moses what to eat and what not to eat, okay? So I don't know that we know that. Let's say there were 20,000 animals on the ark. I think if Noah was 600 years old when he went on the boat and God brought the animals to him, and the ark was built by so many cubits long, cubit being elbow to fingertip, we're building today at our place a miniature version, a 1/3 scale model of Noah's ark. If you want to come see it, 172 feet long. We've been working on it hard for the last week. So I think that it's not a problem if you bring babies. Plus, you got to consider all the animals were vegetarian. None of them would hurt each other. This meat-eating stuff came after the flood, Genesis chapter 9. So they're all friendly. All the animals could get along. They didn't have cages on the ark. They just had rooms, put out piles of food. I'm going to show how they watered the animals in our miniature Noah's Ark here. You'll be able to walk around, take the tour. Oh, that's how they watered them. Wow, genius. I'm only 71, almost 72. I can figure out how they did that. Noah at 600, I'm sure did. Plus God told him how to build it. So I think if they brought babies of everything, they're smaller, they eat less, they sleep a lot more, and they're tougher. They can bounce around. And after the flood, they live longer to produce more babies. And that's why you're bringing them. I think he brought babies of everything, including dinosaurs on the ark. So we'll see. We'll build our miniature scale model, and we'll get some scale model animals, 1/3 size, actually 1/27 size, based on the 3 times 3 times 3. So come on down and see it. So is it logistically possible? I believe it happened. I've always said I take by faith that it happened. You guys want to fit all these 64,000 animals in a dot smaller than an atom. Now that is not statistically possible. Okay. That's a Big Bang Theory. I didn't make it up. Let's see. Everything in the universe grew from smaller than a single atom to bigger than a galaxy. Wade, do you believe what is now currently all the animals in the world, all 41,000 species, came from a dot smaller than an atom? Do you believe that?
Man, wow, Kent, you're really giving me. Oh, please, let's not play that game. You're giving me a lot of material for I really didn't want to have another debate, but
Okay, me neither.
you're giving
Whatever.
me some great material for another debate.
Good.
Big Bang cosmology. What an absurd. So, yeah. What can you put the question back up? A speciation. Yeah. So I explained how going from 1,000 species to 40,000 species, we have the exponential speciation mathematical model. We have the generation length model. We have the amount of time that it would take for these generations to happen. We have the inbreeding depression. There's no explanation. You talk about, but here's the bottom line. Here's the thing. Going from 1,000 species to 40,000 species, that is evolution.
Okay, Kent, let's give you the last word. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Going from a dot smaller than an atom to 40,000 species
that has nothing to do with evolution.
Stupid, real stupid.
Stupid. I can do that too. Stupid.
Yeah. You're
cosmology, Big Bang theory, planet formation, abiogenesis has nothing to do with evolution.
That's 2 hours.
That's 2 hours. We're gonna wrap it up and all look forward.
Bedtime.
We're gonna look forward to around 7 and 8 coming up. Okay, we'll get a little Big Bang in there.
You betcha.
I know you guys secretly want to
actually
do it.
Donny.
So. Yeah,
Donny, I would love to just take a moment. I want to challenge you, Donny, to a debate on. I want to talk about either the existence of God or morality. Would you have a debate with me on the existence of God or morality? Yes or no?
Challenging the moderator and putting him on the spot. Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh, we're doing it. Yeah, so this is the record.
Oh.
All right, let's do it. Oh, we'll hash it out in the emails, and hopefully you'll respond to me this time.
All right.
And we'll have Kent moderate it. I'm just kidding.
Hey,
so Kent, you got to get in the moderator seat one of these days. True. Okay, Wade, Kent, that was a good, stimulating, energetic debate full of surprises. But at the end of the day, we're all smiling. We had a good time. You guys are shaking each other's hands. You're both good sports. So let's get some quick there you go. A digital handshake. So let's get some quick final words, final thoughts. Wade, unless that was your final word, your challenge to me.
No, well, yeah, I mean, like, sorry, let me, so we'll talk more about this in the after show. I really hope some of you come over to the Wizard Show, but we talked about how are there so many species, and Kent said, you came from a protozoa? What's a species? Had nothing to do with the question. We asked, what are the limits of an omnipotent God? And he said, there's no limits. So that means evolution is still feasible. I asked,
well, wait, let's just do that just because we are at 2. I want to respect Kent's time because now these will be more closing statements. Just in terms of final words, just say, hey, I had a good time. Thanks for being kind of thing. And then we'll say what you're saying. Round 7's coming and it's going to be good. I can tell. So wait, final words, but not another closing. Or whatever you want. Wait, whatever you want to do. You've been a good sport. You got an after show after
we
this?
Talked about speciation. We talked about limits. We talked about relatedness. We talked about design. And Ken intentionally avoided every question. Watch it back. Play it back. I asked a question, and he boing, boing, bing, boing. What are you talking about, Kent? Answer the question. All right? We're talking about how are there so many species? What are the limits of an omnipotent God? How do you define relatedness? How do you define that? And why did an omniscient God, an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful God make such bad designs? I think I won this debate.
I tallied up 4 points for each talking point.
Wow.
And yeah.
And Wade, before we hand it to Kent, somebody asked, at least one person, do you make your hats yourself? Those homemade?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Well, there you go. If someone wants their own Wade the Wizard hat, they can shoot you an email and you can send them one. You'll sell them in bulk. Kent, over to you. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate your time as well. Great, fun debate. Let's get some final words, final thoughts from you now.
I believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate. God said the animals and plants would always bring forth after their kind, after their kind, after their kind. That is science. That's all we've ever observed. We've never observed any information that would tell us, wow, we should draw a line between a whale and a potato. There's no science to back up that line. And that's not science. So people can believe all they want. Wade has a religious belief. He believes it very strongly. Yay. But it's not science. I believe God made a big flood that destroyed the world and caused all the layers to form in 1 year. I cover all this in my video series. I believe if people would watch my video series, $50, and then return it when you're done, get your money back, you will say, wow, the Bible's true. I think it can all be answered. God made everything in 6 days. The world is not billions of years old. And animals have always brought forth after their kind. That's all that's ever happened. I believe someday every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. Wade is going to wish really badly he had listened to me. Really badly. And I feel sorry for him that day. But I'll say, Lord, I tried to warn him. I tried to talk to him. He lives in his wizard world. He's off in La La Land. Probably plays video games and votes Democrat. So, okay, go ahead. I'm done. Thank you for
Kent, you mean, Kent, you're saying after this debate, you're not going to join Wade's new religion of wizardology?
No, not going to.
Maybe next time.
Put the slides up. I think you can get a hold of my website, drdino.com. You can call me, 855-BIG-DINO. I'm extension 3. We're on Rumble and all kinds of other channels, and we want to get the gospel out to the whole world. Pascal's wager. If I'm right, Wade, you're in trouble. If you're right, I haven't lost a thing. I have a wonderful life. Go ahead. I got to go, Donny.
Okay, see you later.
Kent,
I'm looking forward to seeing that arc. And
hope you sleep
Wade,
well.
Okay, Kent. Wade, we'll talk to you guys later. Wade, see you later. Enjoy your after show. Kent, get some good sleep. You've earned it. And okay, guys, there is chapter 6 in the great Wade the Wizard versus Dr. Dino debate series. Their debates, more and more as the chapters accumulate, give me additional surprises. But I hope, for the most part, everybody enjoyed the debate. They had a good time. And I like to see that Kent and Wade can smile and shake each other's hands at the end of the day. I mean, they've had 6 rounds. There's been some lively moments, clearly. And so I hope everybody has enjoyed these 6 chapters so far. So, okay, to everybody in the chat that has sent in questions, comments, feedback, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And also the super chats and support that did not necessarily have a question attached to it, but just showing some love and some appreciation. Thank you very much for that, as this is a listener supported ministry, which is why we can put on and host so many debates, so many interviews, and so many discussions on a variety of different topics. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet and just let everybody know that we are in the midst of another big week of events. And so I premiered earlier my discussion part 2 in my debate or discussion series with Ian Chen on creation versus evolution. This was part 2. We largely focused on chromosome 2 fusion. So it's a good technical back and forth. If you haven't yet seen it, it premiered earlier at 5. Do go to the video section as soon as this is over. Check it out. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to watch part 1. And we will be recording part 3 soon as well. There's a lot to discuss. Me and Ian and I have a lot to discuss on the topic of origins and ancestry. Of course, tonight, the battle continued. Wade and Kent, they certainly did not disappoint. That is for sure. You shall know the truth, says, thanks, Donny. Keep on smiling. Yeah, sometimes debates like this, which we don't get all the time. You know, they're rare, but it's hard to keep a straight face during these kinds of rare debates. The debates between Kent and Wade, there have been some moments, that's for sure. That is for sure. So appreciate that comment there. Tomorrow we'll be back. Another great debate, different topic, but still an equally good topic. Important topic is Jesus Yahweh. Seasoned debaters here, Carlos Xavier and also Chris Kloss. And so they're going to be engaging this important question. One could say the great deity of Christ debate. Don, cool name. I approve. I'm Don as well. And we know another Don, the Don. Landslide victory last night, as you guys know. So Don Hathaway. The more I watch SFT, appreciate you watching and enjoying and sticking with us. I'm just here to serve and give you guys the best possible content, but also a variety of content between debates, discussions, interviews, videos, and so on. Also, when it comes to the debates, a good mix of debates. Soteriology, creation, evolution, eschatology, all things science, so on and so forth. So Don says, I'm impressed by Donny's candor and tongue in the cheek responses. Yeah, you know what? Even though clearly I have specific positions that I hold to, I do want to allow for a platform where all parties, all interlocutors do feel welcome, do feel comfortable. And so, you know, I want to be, for a debate like this, I wanted to be easygoing, laid back. The thing is, Wade and Kent, they've debated. This is their sixth debate. So at the end of the day, people know what they're getting into, what they're coming in for with a Wade and Kent debate. And so I want to be laid back, easygoing, and kind of let them go at it, you know, duke it out for a couple hours. Scott Terry, please do a debate between a presuppositionalist and an evidentialist over apologetic methodology. I like that idea. I'm up for it. And so for those that are interested, we have had discussions like that. So you can find a comprehensive open mic debate that we had. Sam, my award-winning co-host, Redefine Living, and Matt Yester. They're very good at presuppositional apologetics. And so we did, I think it was close to a 5-hour open mic debate on the Trinity, but it focused, I think I remember correctly, it was a transcendental argument perhaps. And so it did predominantly focus on presuppositional apologetics. Check that out. But I would love to do some more debates on that, or even just a formal debate. Scott Terry says, Yester's a friend of mine. Yeah, Matt Yester's awesome. He did a fantastic job in that open mic debate. He does show up here from time to time. And with that being said, Sam and I do want to host another show of that type with Matt Yester, have him back and put out another challenge. Hopefully we can do that. So let me just look over. I thought I seen another question here. Alex G, always a pleasure, brother. Echoing Erudite, a live audience panel for a discussion on the existence of God and morality would be awesome. Yes, I would love that. Now, in terms of the existence of God, I guess my books are behind me. I've written a book on special creation. So rather than just a general existence of God debate, where you find many Christian apologists, of course, focusing on that, they'll primarily focus on points dealing with the origin of the universe, the origin of the first life, laws of logic, morality, and things like that. You can see Dr. Frank Turek does a lot of debates on that, who I've had here twice for excellent discussions. I like to focus in on not just evidence for God, but evidence for the Christian or the biblical God. And so specifically, I prefer to focus on biblical creation. Okay. And so to debate Wade and to agree to his challenge, I would specify in a resolution that we're dealing with biblical creation. And as I have done in my books and previous debates and discussions, I'm doing a series with Ian Chen. I strongly believe the biological, the genetic data, and can demonstrate that these lines of evidence do point to not only the existence of God, but the existence of the Christian God and the confirmation of the book of Genesis, which does claim to be the history book of the universe. But we'll save that for later and possible future debate or discussion with Wade. So tomorrow is Jesus Yahweh, or is Jesus God? Then the next day we got our huge debate, huge as the Don would say. So we have, and I am pumped for this, Doctors Bob Wilkin and Steve Gregg, two powerhouses in the debate world, true professionals, excellent scholars. This is going to be a fantastic debate. This is one of our main events. We've had many main events recently that we schedule 3, sometimes 4 months in advance, but time flies by when you're having fun. So for example, last week we had a couple main events. This week we've got this one coming up. This will be Friday. So again, Bob Wilkins, Steve Gregg, the great once saved, always saved debate. And you're not going to want to miss out on this one. This one's going to be great. It's going to start at 6:30 EST. So I think it's Friday, 6:30. Today, Kent and Wade. Tomorrow, Carlos Xavier and Chris Claus. And then on Friday will be Bob Wilkin and Steve Gregg. And then on Saturday, we have I'll have to get the debate promo in here a little later, but we have Charles Jennings from the Layman Seminary and Pastor Scott Clem. They'll be debating the millennium, premillennialism versus amillennialism. Another one of my favorite topics, the topic of eschatology, which is the study of last days. But in terms of this debate, more specifically, the millennium, the great millennium debate. Charles and Scott have had many, many debates. And so I'm sure we're going to be getting an information-packed and thought-provoking debate on the millennium. So Alex G says, can't wait. That's going to be epic. I'm assuming you're talking about Friday's debate between Bob Wilkin and Steve Gregg. Yeah, that'll definitely be up there as one of the biggest debates that we've hosted, just in terms of the interlocutors and their scholarship, their professional resume, right? They've written a ton of books. They've done a ton of debates. And so Bob and Steve, I can guarantee, are going to give us a comprehensive, hopefully a go-to debate on the topic of once saved, always saved. I know, controversial topic. And so I'm really excited for it. It's one of my favorite topics, one of the topics I'm most passionate about. So it'll be a real privilege and a blessing to have both Bob and Steve, who I highly respect. I've had them both here before in the past, twice for Dr. Wilkin and twice as well for Dr. Steve Gregg. So that'll be Friday, guys. Okay, what else do we have for you? Well, that's this week worth of shows. Again, we kicked it off earlier with Ian Chen, myself and Ian Chen. Actually, we did a show on the Trinity that I think premiered not yesterday, but the day before. So Monday, do check that one out. That one out is on the channel. I do want to let people know, though, we are going to end the year. So we got, I think it's the 18th and the 19th. It's all booked. It's all confirmed. It's up on the channel in the upcoming live stream section. So we're going to have 2 days, 2 experts, 2-hour audience Q&As. I should say audience and host. I'm going to have my own questions as well that I will be I've got just pages and pages worth of questions after doing this for so many years, especially when it comes to the critics, the opposing side, the questions they ask. I've hosted enough debates. I've done enough debates. I've written enough books. I typically know what they ask, what their challenges are, their objections. And so these are going to be a couple comprehensive events. We're going to kick it off with Dr. Grady McMurtry. So it's going to be back-to-back 18th and 19th. We're going to have Dr. Grady S. McMurtry, 2-hour Q&A. Following day, Dr. Jerry Bergman. Okay. So if you got questions, you got challenges, you got objections, you have inquiries on the creation versus evolution debate topic or controversy, then make sure you're here for that. We're going to end the year with those 2 audience Q&As back to back. I'm looking forward to it. And then every year we do a Defending Genesis conference. This year has been packed with events. And this last quarter has also been packed with events more than ever. It's been just a great year of debates and interviews and discussions. So our Defending Genesis conference, our next one, I'm going to try and fit into the first quarter of 2025, probably March, once the weather starts getting a little nicer. Our Defending Genesis conferences, I've done 2. And in terms of conferences, I've done, I think, 4. But the Defending Genesis conferences are, they take a lot of work. They're worth it. They're edifying. And you can find those on the channel, the website. But they are a week packed of events. So we do 5 events. We do 10 events, because 2 a day, and for the whole week. So 5 days, 2 events per day. And so those conferences have been awesome. I've enjoyed them. And so the next one I do, it won't be at the end of this year, but it'll be probably first quarter of 2025. Alex G says, Jerry is definitely top favorite. Yeah, I've got Dr. Bergman. He is going to do a formal debate in January. Now I have several potential candidates. One potential candidate, Dr. Chris Thompson. He's of the evolution persuasion. He does have a PhD. He would be great. And so I should find out soon, hopefully, if he's the one that wants to do it in January. If he doesn't, we'll get another interlocutor, but I want it to be worthwhile for Dr. Bergman. So I would prefer a PhD, or, even like a science teacher, perhaps Planet Peterson, somebody like that. So if you're an evolutionist, I'll probably put out a community post soon, depending on the details that I receive over the next couple days, and just see who's interested in doing a major debate with a well-known creationist, Dr. Jerry Bergman, because I do want to make it worth it. I want to make it a formal, professional, technical debate. Okay. And so hopefully we can get that in for January. All right, guys, let's just do a rundown of some of these events, and we're going to wrap it up. So creation versus evolution wise, we got this one coming up that I'm very excited for. 2 seasoned debaters, experienced debaters, Doctors Fuzz Rana and Robertson Janis. What is the age of the earth? This will be December 16th. Old Earth creation versus young Earth creation. We got this one coming up as well. Young Earth creation versus old Earth creation. Adam from Curious Christianity and Kent Hovind. And we've got this one on the 6 stages of evolution. Kent Hovind and Grayson. So they're going to be duking it out again. They always make for fun debates, memorable debates. And so that one should be fun, because the debate itself will be broken up in different sections where they can focus on each of the stages: cosmic, chemical, planetary and stellar, organic, macro, and micro, if I got them all. So that'll be a good debate. That's coming up soon as well. And I am currently working on confirming a few more. And so, guys, we want to end this year with a bang, and we are going to end this year with a bang. Okay, with that, we are going to wrap things up for tonight. Again, thank you so much for everybody, their feedback, their comments, their questions. Thank you so much for joining. Wade and Kent, appreciate another engaging, stimulating, and surprise-filled debate. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 EST for a debate on the deity of Christ between Carlos Xavier and Chris Claus. God bless all.